Shalom to the nation of Israel. This is Barazal coming in the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone and to the hopeful elect, pushing his word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth, especially in these times that we're in right now, right? Things are getting hot, very hot, especially in Canada, because I live in Canada, specifically Ontario. And it's getting hot. They're coming, talking about bringing in the military. And they already did it in Alberta, I believe. There were some nurses. I have to read the article again, but I know off the top of my head, there were some nurses or doctors in one of the hospitals, I think 8 or 9 of them. And they brought in I guess the government brought in their military nurses to replace those nurses that I guess quit because they didn't want to take the jab or the yob, or the devil's syringe, or those Maxine waters, right? They didn't want to take it. So they replaced them with their own military, which is interesting because we have to remember that the beast is all about gradualism. They're not going to just do everything all at once. It's going to be slow. They're going to do it here and there, a little bit here, a little bit there, until they get a certain percentage, because they have a target amount that they're aiming for, just like they did with the people receiving those Maxine waters in those syringes, right? They're just waiting to get a target number, target percentage, then boom, here comes the mandates. Boom, right? Okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, because they know they have a percentage of the population already, so a percent of the population is not going to resist them, right? If they did it early, which you saw kind of like last year what happened, there was a lot of resistance, a lot of riots and all that type of stuff, So they had to do it slowly. It's because they are impatient. Remember, they're the wicked one, right? The beast is of the wicked one, right? The head of honcho is on top, which is those what's the word I'm looking for? Those banking families, right? And they're of Esau. And Esau was impatient. That's a spirit that he has. He's impatient, right? He lost, but he was tricked or supplanted of his blessing, all because he just didn't want to wait for the food to be cooked properly. So he's impatient. Yeah, so when it comes to hunting, he has patience for that, but even then, he's not fully patient. But he's pretty good when it comes to hunting. That's his skill. So the reason why I mentioned that is because right now you're being hunted. You're being cooked, right? So with the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? The implementing of the martial law is going to happen gradually, right? Here a little, here, there, here a little, there a little. Right, they're gonna add nurses in these hospitals and nurses in other hospitals. Then eventually, when they get a certain percentage of these doctors fired or nurses fired, then boom, then the mandates, then martial law, right? Because they know if they do it early, they're gonna get resistance. So they gotta do it slowly. But at the same time, so then while I'm saying this, I just want to keep talking off of verbatim. There is a scripture. There we go. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down onto you. That's happening right now. Having great wrath happening right now. And he hasn't even really shown his full wrath. He's just getting started. Because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So that's my point, right? He knows he has a short time, right? So he's only going to be so patient, right? He's only going to be so patient. Eventually, he's going to start to speed up things because he's impatient. It's in his spirit. He's impatient, right? It's that same demon, that same spirit that was on Cain, right? And which is Esau, right? So I just wanted to mention that real quick. So I wasn't even going to go into that. That was just a spirit. So what I actually wanted to talk about is, or the main title of this lesson is about using your cloak of liberty from maliciousness, right? John 15:22. If I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, right? So, but now they have no cloak for their sins, right? So if Yahweh Shem Yahushai didn't come and speak right? If he didn't come and speak and do what he needed to do on the earth, right? Through the prophets, through himself, right? You and the people of the earth wouldn't have a cloak for their sins, because technically, if you don't know you're going off, then you can't really, that's you kind of can't be judged, so to speak, right? It's like, for example, it doesn't mean really you can't be judged. At the end of the day, most likely can do whatever he wants, right? If you don't know you're doing something, he can judge you, right, or reprove you through judgment, and then you learn from it, and then you don't do it again. Or now you know, now you're aware, right? Yeah, I was going to go to a different point, but the point is that, right, as it says right here, if I had not spoken unto them, so when he spoke to them, he told them the truth. Like, you're going off here, you're going off there, you're going off there. This is wicked, that's righteous. You can't do this, you can do this, right? So as he's telling them the things that they're doing wrong and the things that are doing right, he's taking cloaks off. Cloak for this one, cloak for that one. Cloak for this sin's being covered. Oh, now you know you can't do this. So, hey, you have no protection now. You have no, ignorance is bliss, so to speak, right? Now you know, you're not ignorant anymore, right? So that's what happens when, the prophets come and they speak. People come, they get in camp, they get cut up, right? Because it's dangerous. You're getting judged right now. And depending on how sincere you are, most I might have mercy on you. But usually, most of the time, those people that come up to the camp are not sincere. They think they come up with a purpose. Oh, I'm going to try and get these Israelites. Oh, yeah, they think they know everything. They think they're the people of the Most High. No, I'm the people of the Most High, right? Because this is what my doctrine says, right? So they come on here with that spirit, but they get cut up, right? There's no games being played here, right? So if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin, right? But because technically they didn't know they were sinning. It's just like in the garden with Adam and Eve. That's why until the serpent came and talked to them, gave them that doctrine, they ate of that apple of that doctrine, that wine, then they knew they were naked. And the Most High asked them, was like, who told you that you're naked? So the same idea, right? That cloak has been taken off of them. And that's what happened. And they started going off, they started sinning, right? And then we all started sinning through that. But that's an example, right? So right here it says, if I had not come and spoken unto them, they had not had sin. So they wouldn't have sinned if he didn't come and told them. But now they have no cloak for their sin, right? Now they have no cloak. Now they can't say, oh, I didn't know. No, you did know. So you have no excuse now, right? There's not going to be mercy now because you knew, right? You knew. And this is really talking to Israel as a whole, but more importantly, the elect, because the elect are the only ones that are going to be actually actively applying this, working on doing the right thing, not being ignorant. If they get corrected, they get reproved or rebuked, they accept the judgment and they better themselves from it. They learn from it. And they try their best of their ability not to do it again. If not do it again, because they're trying to perfect themselves, right? So now, go to Romans. Oh, Salak. I guess we're going to 1 Peter. There was one in Romans. Let me just jump this real quick. No, we'll go to 1 Peter's. I had a scripture ready, but I guess I didn't write it down. It's odd. It's just spirit, right? 1 Peter 2:16, as free and not using your liberty for a cloak of maliciousness, but as the servants of Yahweh, right? So we have some sort of freedom because we have the truth. So if you have the truth, right? Let's say you understand, you're a lawyer and you know the rules of the law. You do have some sort of freedom because you know all the rules, You know what you can't do, what you can do. That's a lot of information. That's power, right? Which is freedom. Now, with that being said, you do know if you are a good lawyer, you're not gonna break the rules, so to speak. You're not gonna go outside the boundaries of the rules, but you know the rules, so you have a lot of room to operate in, right? Someone who doesn't know the rules, they're not really free at all. They're not free. They have no idea. Like their house is very small, you know. They're just in a room full of doors, or sorry, a room full of walls. If they're lucky, there is a door, you know, until they learn more, right? And then that room gets bigger, then it becomes a house, and it becomes a mansion, and it becomes a huge property, right? So as free and not using your liberty for a cloak of maliciousness. So that also, in that aspect, you can know the truth, but at the same time, you can use that cloak, because the truth does, it is a cloak also. But you don't want to use it I'll read it again, as free and not using your liberty for a cloak of maliciousness. So that liberty you're receiving from knowing the truth, you don't want to use as a cloak of maliciousness to go off, right? Like, for example, I would say, one thing that Christians always say, oh yeah, Most High knows my heart. Most High knows my mind. Okay, sure, you're right. You're not wrong. He does know your mind. But are you going to use that as an excuse to not do the right thing? Oh, the Most High knows my mind. I'm good. He knows He knows I mean to do the right thing. I just can't do it. So he knows. All right. Right here it says, as free and not using your liberty for a cloak of maliciousness, but as the servants of Yahweh. So as a servant, right? Someone who's under servitude, someone who is a prisoner, right? Because that's also what a servant is. You have to be obedient to your master, right? Which is Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, right? You have to be obedient. And how do you be obedient? Is by following the rules. The rule says this is what you can do. This is what you can't do. Don't try and find like the gray area, right? There's no gray area in the scriptures, right? Even if there is no gray area. There's no gray area. It's really left or right, black or white, right? In a so-called gray area, that's through spiritual discernment that you're able to read spiritual things, but it's not even a gray area, you know? Right. But people try to use that. For example, I'll pull one up. Yeah, basically, no, the one I just said, actually, that's a perfect example. Someone will say, well, I'm like this. Like, they're more of a person that kind of just wants to do what they want to do, which is fine. All right. There's nothing wrong with doing what you want to do as long as it's within the rules of the scriptures. Hey, as long as it's within the rules, you're good. Hey, no problem. Nothing should happen to you. And if something does happen, it's just correction, or it could be something from your past life or something that maybe you did, right? But you just take it. You're like, all right, well, I messed up. Or this could be something just to correct me. Then, you get rebuked, you get reproved, you look at the judgment and you learn from it. But if you're like saying, well, I just want to do what I want to do, and kind of using the gray area, well, the scriptures don't say this, but they also say this. Well, technically, the Most High knows my mind, and this is how I am, and he knows this is how I am, right? So he knows I'm going to do this. So I just pray that he has mercy on me, because he said he's going to have mercy, right? You see how easily it is for you to kind of, that demon to jump on you and tell you these things? Because that's wrong. It doesn't matter what you want to do. It matters what the rules are, right? It matters what the rules are, period. Right? You can't just do what you want. That's what the people of the world think. Do as thou wilt. That's their motto. Do what you want. Do whatever you want. Right? So you can't be in the truth thinking like that. Not completely. Do what you want within the rules. Do that. Right? Within the rules. And even some of the rules you can't even fully, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't even fully apply, right? For example, you can't. One rule is you stoning. Rules of adultery, like stoning a woman to death. Man and woman get stoned to death, they get killed. You can't apply that rule here. You go in jail. You can't do that, right? So you got to use wisdom. You got to use discernment. So there's certain rules that you can't actually apply, and there's certain rules you can apply. So that it goes even further. So the rules you can apply, you have to do them. Because remember, Yahweh Shem Yahushai is watching you. So the ones that you can apply, you have to do them. Because that's being obedient as a servant. Right? We move on to the next one. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear Yahweh, honor the king. Very simple. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear. Basically what I just said. So you need to, if you fear Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, you will not do those things that are contrary to the rules. You will not try and the so-called gray area. You won't even try and look for the gray area. And if there is a gray area, you're not going to go in there. Right? Because why would you try it? Like it's like okay, it's like someone that's in prison, because we are, like I said, we are prisoners. Someone who's in prison, they got a sentence, they're in prison, they know why they're in prison, but they're not even looking at that fact that why they're in prison. Now they're just trying to figure a way out because they don't want to be in prison anymore, because it's not fun. They can't do what they want, like they were doing when they're outside of prison. So now they're trying to figure a way out. And they get pretty far, but then they get caught, and maybe they get beat up and throw back in the prison cell. And they keep doing it over and over and over again. And then they actually tend to forget the fact of why they're there in the first place. Right? So they're missing the whole picture. They're missing the point. And then now they're just adding more onto their sentence. Right? Because that's what happens to prisoners. If you know these jails, like if they try to escape or do something like that, their sentence gets longer instead of just serving their sentence, accepting what they did and serving their sentence. And sometimes they get early parole because they're a good prisoner. They followed the rules. They didn't cause any problems while they're in there. They're actually a good inmate, if that's the word. And they get released early. Right? Some get released way early. So it's the same thing in the truth, even more so in the truth. We're all prisoners of hope, right? And we're prisoners of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? Yahweh Shai is the warden. So if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? If you're constantly trying to find a way out of a situation instead of just accepting the situation that you're in and remembering why you got there in the first place and everything you did before you got in that prison cell, if you're not doing those things, you're just gonna keep trying to find a way out, and your prison, your what's the word I'm looking for? Your sentence is gonna get longer and it's gonna get more extreme, because sometimes they won't even keep you in that same cell. They'll throw you into solitary confinement, which is worse, right? Dark. You barely get food. You get food. I think you get food every day. Can't talk to anybody, right? You don't want that. Nobody wants that. So just follow the rules, right? The scriptures have no holes. There's no holes. There's a law for everything. Right? There's a law for everything. So there are no gray areas. So if you're creating gray areas, that's dangerous, because that's a demon. So you got to be careful. Right? Right? So servants, be subject to your masters with all fear. Right? So you have to fear Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You do that, you'll do the right thing. You will be afraid to do what you want. That's outside the scriptures. That's in the so-called gray area that you created. Right? You don't want to do that. Just follow the rules. Not only to be good, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the forward. Because sometimes your master is not going to be always nice to you. Sometimes he's going to be very harsh with you. But then you have to think about, why is he being harsh with you? Maybe you actually deserve it because you're very stubborn. Right? You don't listen. You keep doing what you want to do. Which that's the people of the world. That's what they do. And their judgment's coming. Like, that's why it shows you on top of it that Yahweh Shem Yahushai loves you too at the same time, because he's still dealing with you. He's still punishing you. But just like any father, eventually he's going to get tired. And he's like, he's going to tell you to get out. He's going to kick you out of his house. You don't want to get kicked out of the spiritual house, the house of David. You don't get kicked out of that house, because once you get kicked out, you can't come back in, right? You don't want to run up your currency in your spiritual bank account, because Yahweh Shai, your big brother, the one that's pleading your case to Yahweh, right, is constantly making a withdrawals for you when you fuck up because you're not following the rules. Eventually, you're going to be in insufficient funds. And you don't want to be in insufficient funds with the Most High. You don't want to be there. That's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. This is not a fucking joke. This is not a fucking game that we're playing here. We're almost out of here. So things are very serious. And they've always been serious, but things are more serious, more than they ever were. Right? So you need to be everyone needs to be on the P's and Q's, including myself. When I say that, when I say you, I'm talking to myself also. Right? This is serious. This is very serious. Right? So you can't be constantly fucking up, excuse my French, on the same thing when you know especially when you know what's gonna happen. If you know the outcome of a situation is, why are you doing it? Especially if it doesn't work, like if it's gonna lead to wickedness, right? That's because you don't want to do what you're supposed to do, what you have to do right now, right? That's a demon, right? And Yahweh Shem Shai is not, I've been on professional teams and coaches, general owners of teams, they don't want players like that. They cut players like that. Those are the players that get cut because they couldn't listen and follow the rules. They couldn't be a team player. They couldn't, subject themselves onto their coaches. They weren't coachable. That's the word. They weren't coachable. They felt like they knew everything, even though they didn't know anything. Even though they were a player, and the coach is a coach, but they felt they knew more than the coach. It's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. And the coach was reporting to the general manager of the team, the owner of the team. He's gonna tell him, yeah, this player, look, I've been trying. I know he does have a lot of potential, but he's not coachable. So we gotta get rid of him. Get the other guy. The other guy might not have as much talent as him right now, but he's coachable, so we can build that guy up. That's what happens on teams, and I've experienced it and I've seen it. In the professional level, they're cutthroat. They don't care, right? And there's so many aspects to it. Like if the coach doesn't like you, the GM doesn't like you, then you can get cut from that. You can be a good athlete, but it's because they don't like you, they'll cut you. So even in the scriptures, it talks about that. Doing what pleases Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. He's pleased by suffering. So suffering in your situation, whatever lot you're in, you got to suffer. That pleases him. When you're trying to find a way out, that doesn't please him. Because you're trying to escape judgment. You're trying to escape suffering. So he's going to get angry. Right? And you don't want to anger him. And then you're making your big brother, Yahweh Shai, look bad. Right? Because he said, yeah, this guy, yeah, he's going to be good. And now he's like, he's looking at it, he's like, He's like, you said this guy's going to be good. Yeah, I know. Right? Now, I'm being a little bit humorous about it, but, you gotta have some humor. But it's serious. It's serious. It's very serious. Slack. I don't want to talk too much. Try to get to the point. This one's going to be a long one. Isaiah 30:1. Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that covering with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin. Right? So anyone who's going and basically being rebellious, taking counsel from people of the world, right? Not people of the truth, right? Using that cloak of maliciousness, using the liberty as a cloak of maliciousness, right? Right, and it also said, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, right? Heaping sin upon sin, right? Let's say you did something. Let's say you just you sin, and then you're like, I already sinned. Well, I might as well keep going. And then you sin again, right? You just keep sin upon sin right there in that moment, right? It says, woe to them, because you're being rebellious, or being a rebellious child. And parents will only deal with rebellious children for so long, because they can always make another child. They can always make another one. And Yahweh Bashem Yahushai doesn't have to deal with you. If he's dealing with you, he doesn't have to deal with you. He can wake up another brother, another man that's in the world, and wake him up, boom, just like that, snap of the fingers, and make you fall out. He can do it to any one of us. So that fear alone should be enough to keep you straight and narrow. Because this is a dangerous game. Right? We're spies. We're double agents, right? And a lot of those spy movies, a lot of the spies die. If you've watched the spy movies like 007, a lot of them die, right? 007, even though it's a movie, but he escaped all the scenarios. Sometimes he gets caught too. A lot of times he gets caught because of a woman. So that's a whole nother conversation, right? He got fall in love with this woman. He tried to help her and he gets caught. And then now he's getting tortured, right? But the reason why he's still alive is because he's smart. He knows how to play the game. He knows the rules. He knows his boundaries. And he knows how to play within those rules. Right? Now, I'm not saying the truth is a game like that. I'm not saying that, But all I'm saying is that you need to know the rules. If you know the rules, then you can play the game how you want as long as you're within the rules. So that's how you can get that aspect of doing what you want. Right? But you can't do it outside the rules. You're like it says, woe to the rebellious children. You're being rebellious at that point. Right? And you're taking a different spirit. You're taking the spirit of the world, not of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. The spirit of the truth is about following the rules, following the law, statutes, commandments. Right? The spirit of the world is doing whatever you want. Do as thou wilt. Right? That just leads to death because you're sinning. You're heaping sin upon sin. Right? We can't. And another one that people always say is, well, we're in these fleshly bodies, so we're going off anyways. So I might as well keep going off. I can't get mad when I go off. Okay, fair. Okay, fair. Like you can't get mad, so to speak. You should get mad, really, because these places, bodies are wicked. You should be getting mad. But what you should be doing is trying to understand why you went off. Like, what caused you to go off? What was it? Were you not paying attention to something? Was it because you're not really in tune with yourself? Because the scriptures say, examine thyself, right? You not fully understand your emotions. What things that actually piss you off, things that, you need to understand those things. So you can still extrapolate some knowledge from it. But yeah, people will say, well, these are chains of darkness, so we're going to go off anyways. That's true. That's true. But it doesn't mean you just allow yourself to go off and then allow it to keep going off. It sounds like the whole, what the Israelites used to do in the ancient times when they wanted to sin, right? They would get a turtle dove and sacrifice a turtle dove. They go and sin, sleep with someone's woman. These Israelite men sleep with another man's woman and sacrifice a turtle dove. It's like, oh, well, I'm covered now because the turtle dove cleansed me of all my sins. It's the same thing. It's the same scripture about don't use your liberty as a cloak of maliciousness. It's the same thing, right? So it's kind of, they're creating their own gray area, right? So we're going to finish off with cloak. Ecclesiasticus 3:27. An obstinate heart shall be laden with sorrows, and the wicked man shall heap sin upon sin. Straight to the point, right? A wicked man is going to heap sin upon sin. An obstinate heart, an obstinate mind shall be laden with sorrows. Right? An empty mind shall be laden with sorrows. And why is it laden with sorrows? Because it doesn't have the truth. Yahweh Shai is not dealing with him. So that's why his mind is empty. Right? He's not supping with him. That's why his mind's empty. And the wicked man shall heap sin upon sin. And the wicked man's wicked. He doesn't care. He's like, do as thou wilt. I'm just doing what I want. Right? No rules. Right? So the point is that you got to follow the rules. You have to follow the rules. You can't be always looking for a way out. Right? Let Yahweh Bashem Yahushai show you the way out. Right? That's who you really should be letting you show you the way out, not yourself, because you're wicked. We're in wicked bodies. They said the scriptures say our wicked our righteousness is as a filthy rags. So we're not like, it's through mercy, right, that we're being, the Most High Yahweh Shem Shai will save us, but we're also through the faith and works, right? Faith without works is dead. But there's also other things that add to that, right? So like, for me, I rather Yahweh Shem Shai show me the way out. I'm not gonna try and think of the way out myself. For what? What? It doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, if he wants to keep me somewhere, he's gonna keep me there. I'm gonna stay there. He controls everything. He is everything. Right? So if you do what pleases him, do what actually makes him happy, which is suffering, which is fasting, which is praying, which is following the law, statute, commandments to the best of your ability, which is accepting your judgment, trying to learn from it, try to better yourself from it. If you do those things, through mercy, he might make your sentence shorter, and he might show you a way out. Sometimes there might not be a way out. Maybe the fact is that you just have to accept the fact of what you've done before, whatever it was, right? And this is your judgment. This is your sentence. But he's still dealing with you. That's the point. If he's still dealing with you, you're still good. You're not out of the race. You're not out of the game, so to speak. You're not out of the truth if he's still dealing with you. Right? Because every brother's lot is different. It's totally different. Totally different. Similar, right? You can learn from other brothers and their lots, but there's no lot is the same. Right? And that's the beautiful thing of the Most High. Anyways, this was really supposed to be a short and quick one, but it did not turn into that. But I really hope it was edifying and to the hopeful elect, that are pushing his word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth, especially in these times. And yeah, Shalom.